It's Sunday afternoon. Your phone buzzes. Again and again. 3 messages in less than a minute, all from family. 20 years ago, nobody asked for your opinion. Nobody asked for advice. Nobody called just to see how you were doing. Today, it's different. You place the phone face down on the table. The smell of grilled food drifts through the backyard. Someone is laughing near the patio. Your entire family is here. The same people who watched you struggle, the same people who watched you succeed. And sometimes you wonder what actually changed. Was it the money? Was it you? Or did success simply reveal who people were all along? Your phone vibrates again. You don't check it. You already know what it says. A question, a favor, advice. Funny how that works. Because there was a time when nobody wanted any of those things from you. To understand why, you have to go back to when your entire net worth was $50. You're 20 years old. It's 6:12 in the morning. The house is quiet. You sit alone at the kitchen table before work. Your phone rests beside a cup of coffee. You open your banking app. $50, not $50 left over. $50 total. Outside, the sun hasn't fully risen. In less than an hour, you'll be driving to a job you don't love. The money doesn't scare you. What scares you is what it represents. No safety net, no momentum, just another month starting from zero. That night, your family gathers for dinner. Your uncle talks about real estate. Your cousin talks about a promotion. Everyone seems to have something worth saying. Halfway through the conversation, you mention an idea, a small online business. Nothing crazy, just something you've been thinking about. Nobody laughs. Nobody argues. Nobody even responds. The conversation simply moves somewhere else, and somehow that feels worse. Later that night, you're lying in bed staring at the ceiling. Not because they disagreed, because they didn't care enough to disagree. At 20 years old, that hurts more than you'd admit. The next morning, you wake up before work, the same coffee, the same $50 in your account. But one thing is different. For the first time, you decide to do something about it. You start a small online business. Nothing impressive. You're not trying to get rich. You just want income that doesn't come from a paycheck. During the day, you keep your job. At night, you work on the business. Some months, it makes very little, but you save almost all of it. The years pass quietly. No breakthrough, no overnight success. Just hundreds of small decisions nobody notices. 4 years later, you're 24. It's 7:03 on a Saturday morning. You're sitting in a small apartment. The place isn't impressive, but it's yours. You open your banking app. $5,000. It took years to get there. Years of keeping the old car, years of working your job during the day, years of growing your small business at night. The business never became huge, but it keeps growing. And every extra dollar went into savings. $5,000 won't change your life, but it changes something important. For the first time, a flat tire isn't a crisis. A broken appliance isn't a disaster. You finally have breathing room. The funny thing is, nobody notices. You still drive the same car. You still live in the same neighborhood. To everyone else, you're the same person. But inside, something is changing. A few weeks later, your younger brother comes to visit. The two of you sit at the kitchen table. He asks you a question. Not about sports, not about movies, about money. How did you save your first few thousand? The question catches you off guard. You answer anyway. You tell him about patience, consistency, and not spending every extra dollar you make. You tell him most of the money didn't come from one big win. It came from years of small ones. The conversation lasts maybe 10 minutes, but after he leaves, you keep thinking about it. Because for the first time in your life, someone in your family looked at you as if you might know something they didn't. It's a small moment, but you don't forget it. Because respect rarely arrives all at once. It arrives quietly, and without realizing it, you're beginning to need approval a little less. For the first time, you're starting to trust yourself. You're 28. It's 8:41 on a Thursday evening. Rain taps softly against the windows. You just got home from work. Dinner is warming in the microwave. Before sitting down, you open your banking app. $50,000. You stare at the number for a moment. Not because it's shocking, because you remember when 5,000 felt impossible. The small online business is still running. It never became a massive success story, just years of improvement. A better website, better products. Your job pays more now too. A promotion here, a raise there. Most people would have increased their spending. You increased your investments instead. Year after year, the money compounded. So did your confidence. A few weeks later, your family gathers for your grandmother's birthday. The same backyard, the same grill, the same people. At least that's what it looks like. Halfway through dinner, a conversation starts about investing. Your uncle is talking about a property someone wants to sell. Normally, he leads the conversation. Normally, everyone listens. This time, something different happens. He stops, looks at you, then asks, "What would you do?" You notice it immediately. 5 years ago, he interrupted your ideas before you could finish them. Now he's asking for your opinion. Everyone waits for your answer. You explain your thoughts. The conversation moves on. But something stays with you. At 20 years old, you wanted everyone to believe in you. At 28, you no longer need them to. Because for the first time, you believe in yourself. You're 35. It's 9:18 at night. The house is quiet. Your phone lights up. You glance at the screen. A banking notification. You open it. $500,000, $500,000. You stare at the number. Not because you're excited, because you understand what it took to get there. 15 years, thousands of mornings, thousands of decisions. The business is bigger now, not huge, just reliable. Your investments have grown. Your income has grown. Most importantly, your patience has grown. The number feels like proof that consistency works. A few minutes later, your phone rings. Family. You answer. A relative is struggling financially. You listen. You offer advice. You help where you can. The call ends. Then another comes weeks later. Then another. Then another. As your wealth grows, the requests grow too. Some people need guidance. Some people need money. Some need both. At first, you say yes to almost everything. You remember what it felt like to struggle. Then one day, a relative asks for money. You help. Months pass, then a year. You never hear about it again. No update, no thank you, nothing. And for the first time, you learn something nobody talks about. Helping people and rescuing people are not the same thing. One creates growth, the other creates dependence. That lesson hurts, because saying yes feels generous. But sometimes the harder choice is creating boundaries. Not everyone likes boundaries. A few family members quietly start saying you've changed. Maybe they're right. You have changed. At 20 years old, you wanted approval. At 28, you wanted respect. At 35, you want peace. Later that night, you sit alone on the back patio. The neighborhood is silent. 15 years ago, you would have been wondering how to get ahead. Tonight, you're thinking about something different. Not how to make more money, how to protect your peace. Because the biggest challenge isn't building wealth anymore. It's deciding who gets access to it. And for the first time in your life, you're beginning to understand the difference. You're 42. It's 10:18 on a Tuesday morning. Your phone hasn't rung in hours, no meetings, no deadlines, no boss waiting for a report. You walk into the kitchen, pour yourself a cup of coffee, then glance at your account. $5 million. The number is larger than anything the 20-year-old version of you imagined. But what surprises you most is how normal it feels. The business you started years ago still exists. Only now, other people run most of it. The investments you've spent decades building continue to grow. For the first time in your life, your time belongs to you. You sleep better, you worry less, you don't feel trapped. The freedom isn't dramatic, it's quiet. And that's what makes it valuable. One weekend, your family gathers for another birthday. Halfway through the afternoon, your nephew asks if he can talk to you. The two of you sit away from everyone else. He's nervous. You remember that feeling? He tells you he feels lost. Not financially, personally. He doesn't know what he wants to do with his life. For the next hour, you talk. Not about money, about patience, failure, the years nobody sees. Months later, he calls. He says that conversation changed the way he sees his future. And for the first time, you realize something. The most valuable thing you've built isn't your business. It isn't your wealth. It's your perspective, the lessons, the mistakes, the experience. Those are the things people actually need, not the money. You look across the backyard. Your family is laughing, talking, living their lives. The same people who watched you struggle. The same people who watched you succeed. And suddenly, you think about that 20-year-old version of yourself, sitting alone at a kitchen table, checking an account with $50, feeling invisible, feeling like nobody saw potential in him. The truth is, some people didn't, some people couldn't, but a few did. And those people mattered more than all the others combined. Because wealth changes how people treat you. It changes who asks for advice, who asks for favors, who suddenly becomes interested. But wealth doesn't create character, it reveals it. The same is true for families. Some relationships were real, others were attached to the success. The difficult part is learning the difference. And the beautiful part is learning that you don't need everyone. You only need the right people, the people who stayed when there was nothing to gain, the people who saw value in you before the world did. Those people become priceless, because in the end, the greatest gift wealth gave you wasn't status, it wasn't comfort, it wasn't $5 million, it was clarity. The clarity to see who truly cared and who was simply waiting for the money to arrive.